A relationship is a connection between two tables of data, based on a single column of matching data in each table. Some tables are imported with relationships already created. Other relationships need to be manually created in Excel, Power View, and PowerPivot. This video will focus on several different ways of creating and managing relationships in Power View and PowerPivot. Let's assume that I have imported data from many different sources, but as yet have no relationships between the data. If I want to mash up all of this data, I need to create relationships and build a data model. In Power View, I'll create a table to look at the number of medals awarded by host city. The first time I try to use fields from different tables, I'm prompted to create a relationship. There is no relationship between medal count and host city, so Power View can't make sense of the fields I selected. It still creates the table, but the data is meaningless. On the error message, click Create. Power View can tell me I need a relationship but can't identify the columns to relate. Luckily, in these two tables there are fields with the same name, Edition ID. I'll try that. If it's impossible to create a relationship between the selected tables, Power View will display an error message to this effect. For example, if neither fields contain unique values, I won't be able to create the relationship. At the present time, Power View supports one-to-many and one-to-one relationships, but not many-to-many. But in this case, Edition ID works just fine. Notice the error message is gone and my table is updated with meaningful information. I don't have to wait for Power View to give me an error message. I can proactively create relationships too. From the Power View data gallery, select Relationships. Notice the relationship we just created is listed. In the dialog box, click New. I'll create a relationship between the disciplines and sports tables using the Sport ID field. This is a one-to-many relationship because Sport ID is unique in the sports table, meaning there is only one of any Sport ID. And in the disciplines table there are Sport ID duplicates. Click Close once the new relationship is created. I can also create relationships in PowerPivot. Sometimes it's easier to use PowerPivot to create relationships because of the visual display of the data model and relationships in diagram view. Notice that the population table is unrelated to the rest of the data model. Population is off by itself. Looking at the columns in population, I realize that country code and NOC country region code in the medals table contain matching values. I highlight country code and drag it to NOC country region code. PowerPivot draws a solid line between the two columns, indicating the relationship. I can also create a relationship by right-clicking a table and selecting Create Relationship. I add a relationship between country region table's ISO 3-digit column and medal table's NOC country region code this way, but I much prefer the ease of dragging columns in diagram view. If your model contains just a few tables, it might be immediately obvious which ones you need to use in relationships, but for larger models you can search for related columns. I'll pretend that mine is a large data model and I need to join the events table to the data model. I guess that discipline ID might be a unique column in another table, so I'll search to see if any other tables have the same column. Click Find. In Find What, enter Discipline ID. Use Find Previous or Find Next to locate all the occurrences of Discipline ID. If a match is found, the column is highlighted in the table diagram. I now know two other tables containing a matching column, Disciplines and Medals. But it's much more likely that the Disciplines table has unique values for Discipline ID to create a one-to-many relationship. There are so many different ways for working with relationships. From a report creation point of view, it doesn't really matter if you create and manage relationships in PowerPivot or Power View. Either way, the data model is created and updated and immediately available to Power View for mashing up data and creating amazing visualizations and reports. Please visit office.com for more information.